Matt, when you were talking about whether or not you're going to play your starters, how do you make sure that you don't go too overboard with playing a starters in a game that might necessarily mean anything, but still getting guys reps so that they don't get so much rust before the playoffs?
Well, I have a hard time going into any game saying it doesn't mean anything. I think every time you go out there, you're trying to perform your best. So, all our guys that are playing, which is the majority of our team, they got to go in with the mindset that they're going to play the entire game. As far as where that goes and when, if and when we decide to pull some guys, it's going to be a totally um, kind of more of a feel type thing than having a concrete plan going into this thing. The message to our team, and this is the way we truly feel, is we're going to Detroit to win a football game. And we know that Detroit's been really tough in their last two home games. They beat Minnesota right at the end of the game, and then, I mean, they put a pounding on Arizona. And it's not a secret as to why, because when you cut on the film and you watch these guys play, they play very physical and they play very hard, and we know that they're going to do that for 4 quarters.
Steve McGargy.
You had said Monday that your concern was the layoff, how long it would be if you rested these guys, how long it would be until the playoffs. I'm just wondering, you also said 100 different people might say something differently. What made you decide to go, that the layoff was more critical than the risk of injury? What got you into that mindset? Is there anything from your experience as a coach or an assistant that kind of made you feel that way?
Well, the only thing from my experience was we experienced that in LA in 2017, where we had already clinched the playoffs and we couldn't really improve our position. We let our guys rest. Now we didn't have the bye, so but as far as we did some studies in terms of how other teams have fared when going into the final week of the season that had a bye, and it was overwhelmingly in favor of giving the guys at least some time. And so certainly you weigh in that information, but you also talk to your players. And these guys want to play, and so that's how we're gonna go about it.
Mark Daniels.
Hello, Matt. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Mark.
Just a couple of questions about the Lions, if I could. Do you see a little bit of EQ in Amon-Ra St. Brown and what he's been able to do as a rookie this year? And what are your thoughts when you see a 7-man O-line front that Detroit's tried on a few occasions in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, no. First of all, St. Brown's done a heck of a job there, and you can really see just the fire that he plays with. He is a gritty dude, and he'll mix it up in both the run game and in the pass game. He's making plays for him. He's doing a great job of sifting off the edge. They even put him last week. They had a 3rd and 10 versus Seattle. They put him in the backfield and handed him a draw, and he took it to the house. So this guy is a really competitive football player. It's not a shocker to me. You could see that energy. You could see that fire when he was playing at USC. As far as their defense will put more pressure on you than any team we've seen. So it's going to be tough to get all the looks in for our offense, but we've got to be on top of just our rules. We've got to communicate the right way, but they definitely present a lot of challenges in terms of just some of the different structures and personnel groupings they'll throw at you.
Brian Wood.
Matt, it's good to be seeing you. I'm curious, when you did those studies, did it indicate in any way just how much time the starters needed to be ready for that bye? Did it show it needed to play a full game, that there was a cutoff point where they've gotten enough work?
Yeah, so Mike Halbach and his guys did a great job of kind of breaking it down in terms of, some teams played guys 30 to 50%. Some teams did it 50 to like 70%, and some guys let them go the whole game. And so we've got all the statistics from that, and I get it. Every situation. There's different variables for every situation, but that's why I think you got to kind of go with your gut in terms of how's the game going. But we are going there with one mindset, and that's to go compete to the best of our ability and win a football game.
Greg Matzik.
Hi, Matt. In your opinion, should MVP voting be considered based upon solely what happens on the field versus things that happen off the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. I think that's, I mean, I don't know what else could factor into it than how somebody goes out and performs on a weekly basis. And if people are going to judge people for, differences of opinion or things that they have no idea what the heck they're talking about, then I think that just kind of discredits that award. And I think we hold that award in high regard. I think most do. And I think it's an absolute privilege to be able to vote for that award and to consider anything else outside of what you see when that player's out there playing, I think is a disservice to everybody.
Mike Spofford.
Hey, Matt, with as the play caller, do you go into this game conscious of the yards that Devontae needs for, that single season team record, or is that something you have to kind of set aside just so that it's not a distraction as you go about, the job of trying to win the game?
Well, I think you're always kind of conscious of, certain things like that. However, you try not to let it impact any of your decisions because you owe it to the team first and foremost to do what's right by our team. But I think it's pretty clear and pretty evident that getting the ball to number 17 is one of the best things for our team. So we're going to operate just like we have every other game. And he's a focal point in a lot of what we do. And if it's there, then we'll throw it to him. If it's not, then, Aaron does a great job of progressing to whoever's open or wherever the read dictates. But, yeah, I think certainly you're always kind of aware of those types of milestones.
Rob Domofsky.
Hey, Matt, it seems like you guys might be in a good spot with the COVID list. There seems to be shrinking. I don't want to jinx anything, but do you feel like you kind of are getting through that a little bit? And have you had any more additions?
We have not had any players get added to that list as of today. And, we've gotten guys back, which is great. And it seems like these guys are coming back at a much quicker rate than earlier this year.
Any coaching staff, though?
Well, we've had just one, Mo Drayton, but that was a couple days ago. I'd say other personnel people or support staff throughout the building.
Tom Silverstein.
So, Matt, you are starting everybody who's healthy on Sunday. Is that what you're definitely saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, there's all kinds of instances you could go back and pick and choose. I think Andy Reid held out Mahomes last year and they made it to the Super Bowl. You talked about extenuating circumstances. Rodgers has that toe. How do you go into this game? If you're going to play him, is this really sort of like a preseason mentality in that, you want to just get him work and then move on?
No, I have a hard time operating like that, Tom. And when it's the regular season, you just we're going there to try to win a football game, and we know that this team is going to give us everything they have, and they've been extremely competitive, especially at home. They've been really tough. They've lost some really tough games there. So, and we've quite frankly haven't played all that great when we've gone to Ford Field. So our guys are going to have to make sure that they're in control of their energy and that mindset that, hey, we're all in for this week, and then next week we can try to recover a little bit.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Matt, what have you thought of Tim Boyle? I don't think he's going to start, but I guess what have your impressions have been watching him?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like about Tim. I know he obviously had the 3 turnovers. I think one of those certainly, really 2 of them were unfortunate, and I don't think necessarily go on him. But, Yeah, I think he's done a lot of good things. Just what we would see here on a daily basis. And Tim's one of those guys. I definitely have I think we all do, have a special place in our heart for. He meant so much to our quarterback room and this football team, and he's such a loyal guy, and he works his tail off, and it's fun to see a guy that's worked so hard and has come so far get an opportunity to go out there and perform.
Cassidy Hill.
Matt, two quick ones. First, did you get a chance to watch Aaron with the Mannings on Monday night?
I was busy game planning, but it may have been on in the background.
Smart answer. Two, we won't get to be at practice today. What do you anticipate with Bakhtiari, Jair, everyone that you were kind of hoping to get back this week?
Yeah, well, Ja's on the COVID list, so until he clears protocol, he won't be back in the building. And then as far as David will go through an individual, as well as Josh Myers. Who else is there? Wallers. Yeah, Z won't be out there today, but those other two guys will be out there, and they'll go through individual. And really today, like you guys know, it's mostly been walkthrough type settings after we get through that individual period. So we'll see where we're at after the individual, whether or not they're going to take some of those walkthrough reps.
Thank you.
Ryan Wood.
I know you were asked about Preston Smith's season on Monday. He's really turned it on since Seattle, last 7 weeks. I'm curious what you've noticed or sensed to be the difference in him, and how he's kind of hit this level midway through the season.
Yeah, I think he's just locked in. He's dialed in. I think he's taken care of his body. I think he's playing at a high level. You could certainly see the effort that he was playing with on tape. It showed up. He was playing physical. He had that one great play in the run game where he set the edge, and it was the play where they lost 4 yards or whatever, running to our left side, I guess. And just how about the play when Bradbury had the immaculate reception part 2 or whatever? Just you could see Preston just how hard he was chasing that down from behind, because he had a high rush. He came all the way around, and the energy and effort that he's playing with is as good as I've ever seen from him. And that's a standard. That's what he's put on tape, and so that's what we expect to see every week.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, I know you're going out there to win the game, but given that you have the number 1 seed locked up, is there any temptation to use Sunday's game as a bit of a laboratory on offense, as far as maybe trying concepts and things you haven't done throughout the season?
There could be some of that, but we'll see how the game unfolds. I think first and foremost, I think you definitely always want to, instead of just experimenting, it's more or less you always want to put your guys in a great position to go out there and have success. And obviously, you want to be productive in both the run game and the pass game. But I think also in the pass game, especially with as much pressure as Detroit's bringing, I think first and foremost, you got to think protection. And we always do that. But we got to make sure that we do a great job in pass protection when we do decide to throw the football.
We'll do one more. Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt, in 16, you didn't have the top seed, but you went in and played Matt Ryan the whole way. Do you recall how you guys went into the playoffs, like what your thinking was in that season going into that last game?
Well, we had to win that game in order to get the bye. And so, I mean, typically I would say there's very little choice in this, just like there was a year ago for us. I mean, we had no choice. We had to win. So it is a little bit different in that regard when you're sitting where we are today, where this has no necessarily implications on paper for us, but I do think that there's a little bit to the psyche of your football team in regards to how you approach each and every game, and we want to make sure we win to keep that momentum going into the postseason.
Is that kind of what you felt in that 16, that you sort of had that momentum by having to play in that last game?
Well, I think our guys were playing at a really high level, and I think that definitely propelled us, into the playoffs.